Joining us now for our big close-up tonight is Michael Whatley, chairman of the Republican National Committee. Chairman Whatley, what is your reaction to what you're seeing here in Los Angeles?
You know, this is the culmination of Democratic leadership on illegal immigration. You know, this is a group of people that are in California right now because Joe Biden brought them into California. And we're seeing right now Democratic leadership from Governor Newsom and Karen Bass, who's doing everything that they can to try and defend the illegal immigrants that are in that state instead of getting them out there. The fact that they are pushing people to attack ICE, they are pushing people to push back on ICE, as we've heard already tonight. It's an absolute disgrace. But this is what happens when we see the Democratic illegal immigration policy fulfilled.
You know, and Chairman Whatley, it's so good to have you here. I would say that it's not even just the product of the border issue, but I think you could connect this all the way back to what we're also seeing on college campuses. I was really interested when I saw a statement from a group called Students for Justice in Palestine posting on their social media today, showing support for the rioters that are attacking ICE agents. Do you think that there's going to be a tolerance for all of this? I mean, could we actually see this helping Republicans in the midterms?
Well, look, President Trump made it very clear the reason that he is sending in the National Guard is because the Democratic leadership of California and Los Angeles is not going to take steps, and he's not going to allow what happened in Minneapolis and other cities back in 2020 happen again.
Chairman, thank you so much again. I know we'll keep thanking you, but we really appreciate this conversation. Can we talk about Gavin Newsom here for a second? Because there are very few people who believe that he's not running for president for 2028. So right now, he's the governor of California, and so he's very aware of the audience of California, but Americans across the country are also watching this future presidential hopeful.
Yeah, look, 2024 was a referendum on a couple different issues. Obviously, the economy was very big, but illegal immigration was #2 issue that we saw in that entire election cycle. The American people do not want 10, 15, 20 million illegal immigrants here, and they certainly do not want violent criminal illegal aliens here. Donald Trump said that he was going to move those illegal aliens out when he was a candidate. That's exactly what he's doing right now, and it's not surprising that we're seeing pushback from Governor Newsom, from Mayor Bass, and other leaders in the Democratic Party for the president keeping the promises that he made during the campaign.
Yeah, I think if there was maybe one clear takeaway mandate from the last election, it was to deport illegal immigrants, especially those who are criminals. And I've seen some people referring to these scenes as nullification riots, people who are using violence to stand in the way of political leadership following through on a promise that the American people have demanded be followed through upon. And yet, as we talked about earlier in the program, Mr. Chairman, you're seeing from a lot of the leadership in California, uniformly Democrats, they are blaming these horrible scenes, the mayhem, the chaos, on the president.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning, you know, the way that they're trying to shift blame on this. You know, those violent, criminal, illegal aliens are here because of Democratic leadership. The riots that we're seeing on the streets right now are because of Democratic leadership. And the fact that there is only pushback coming from one side is absolutely stunning. President Trump is absolutely right to say that we are not going to allow American cities to burn. We are not going to allow violent criminal mobs to take over neighborhoods like we saw in Aurora, Colorado. We're going to make sure that we have our communities safe. This is about our kids. This is about our families, and it's about our economy. And this is a thing that President Trump campaigned on and was very clear. We are going to be very aggressive in moving violent, criminal, illegal aliens out of America.
I think that was a very telling interview during the 2024 campaign, Chairman, when J.D. Vance was on with Martha Raddatz on ABC News. And she said, well, just a couple of apartment complexes have been taken over by violent gangs. And J.D. says back, the vice president now, says, do you hear yourself? Only a couple of apartment complexes? This is crazy. That went viral, and that was certainly a big moment for the future vice president. Let's also move on to the second topic here that we want to talk to you about. While we keep an eye on Los Angeles, clearly, President Trump has made his way to Camp David. He's expected to be focused on the big, beautiful bill, as Republicans want to have it on his desk by July 4th. But Elon Musk has become a roadblock as he brawls with President Trump over spending cuts. While the two Republican senators are also standing in the way, that would be, of course, Rand Paul and Ron Johnson. Listen.
It's not going far enough. And if we just pass this, if it's a one and done, we will not be really addressing the major problem here in terms of massive growing deficits and debt.
This is why my big objection to the bill is they want to ask us to expand their credit line to $5 trillion.
So, Chairman Whatley, how can the GOP resistance come together here? And could the drama surrounding Elon actually, unite Republicans to pass this bill? So I see Ron Johnson, I see Rand Paul. They've been steadfast as far as they want more cuts. The math says that Republicans can give up 3 votes and J.D. Vance could be the tiebreaker if it's a 50-50. Are there any other Republican votes that are out there that may resist this bill? Do you ultimately think that it comes together and gets to the president's desk?
I think it needs to come to the president's desk, right? The president ran on a very clear vision for America. It was, rebuild our economy, restore the southern border, and make sure that our kids and communities are going to be safe, and we have a strong national security. That is exactly what is embodied in this bill right now. And so this bill does have tax cuts. Right? Very important tax cuts. It's about extending the Trump tax cuts, which are going to provide a $10,000 per family benefit for low-income families. It's about no tax on tips. It's about no tax on overtime. This is going to help the economy. We're already starting to see, some steps that are being taken in terms of job growth, in terms of wage growth, and things like that. But you need to get this bill done for the economy. This has provisions to unleash American energy. This has provisions that we need right now to bolster ICE. And we're seeing right now what happens when we need to bolster ICE and to be able to finish the wall. And it has national security implications that are very serious as well. This is not just President Trump's agenda, not just the Republican agenda. It's the American agenda that the American people voted for last November.
And I'm thinking about some members of the Senate that are raising concerns not about not cutting enough, but there are actually some that are raising concerns about cutting in areas that they don't want to. And I'm thinking about a recent op-ed that Senator Josh Hawley wrote in the New York Times, kind of sharing his concern about cuts to Medicaid in his state and what that would mean. On the Business Network, where that's my home on Fox Business, we spend a lot of time explaining what the changes to Medicaid would mean, that they're trying to get rid of the fraud, the waste, the abuse, and also making changes so that able-bodied people are not using Medicaid. But how do you see that issue? And what would you say to senators like Senator Josh Hawley?
Look, the American people have spoken. They want to see waste, fraud, and abuse eliminated from the federal government, including Medicaid. President Trump has been very clear. We are not going to cut Medicaid and Medicare benefits for seniors or for our most vulnerables, right? This bill is not about cutting any benefits to any individuals. It's about taking people that should not be on the rolls off of the rolls.
Okay, I have a midterm question because Democrats have identified 35 House seats held by Republicans that they consider vulnerable to in the Senate. And you have said that it's your goal to turn Trump voters into Republican voters. So how are you going to defend this slim majority in both houses?
It comes down to agenda. It comes down to what the people voted for in 2024 and making sure that that's going to be the agenda that we're going to be campaigning on in 2026. It's about restoring our borders. It's about rebuilding our economy and making America strong. And as long as the president continues to deliver, as long as Congress gets the work done on the one big bill, we will have an agenda that we'll happily take to the American voters. There are 13 districts where Donald Trump carried the district that Democrats are sitting in right now. And those are seats that we want to target. There are obviously vulnerable Republicans. We need to make sure that they are running on an agenda that is succeeding and that the economy is going to be where it needs to be. The border is going to be where it needs to be.
Well, don't go anywhere. Breaking news coverage out of Los Angeles and those riots there will continue right here on the Big Weekend Show. Stick around.